Hello YouTube viewers, welcome to my channel Jackson's Journal. My name is Matthew Jackson, and one of the things I've been watching a lot in the news today is some white people either bowing or laying down before, or kneeling actually, or laying down before black people or Black Lives Matter in particular, and apologizing for their white privilege. So I've put a lot of thought into this, and so what I would like to do is I've written a letter of apology to Black Lives Matter, and I'd like to now offer my apology to Black Lives Matter. My letter reads as this: Dear Black Lives Matter, I apologize for taking advantage of my white privilege by not being involved in crime and not rolling with a crew that did when I was growing up. I apologize for avoiding any unnecessary entanglements with law enforcement by obeying the law. I apologize for finishing school first, then getting a job, then getting married and starting a family, all in that order. I apologize for not getting women who I wasn't married to pregnant and having baby mamas. I apologize for treating all women with the respect and dignity that they deserve and not referring to them as bitches and hoes. And when I say hoes, of course, I'm not talking about the garden tool. I apologize for having all three of my children from the same woman. I apologize for being present in my children's lives and raising them and teaching them the ways of the Lord and not being a deadbeat dad. I apologize for not developing an addiction to drugs or alcohol or other vices like cigarettes, pornography, or gambling. I apologize for not getting tattoos or any body piercings, especially in the high visibility areas like the head, face, neck, and hands. I apologize for not wearing my pants so low that the waistline is below my crotch, and I'm showing everyone who sees me what brand and style of underwear that I am wearing as if I was a jailhouse bitch. I apologize for holding down several jobs and showing up to work every day on time and sober. I apologize for working hard and doing an honest day's work for an honest day's pay. I apologize for tithing and saving my money and spending it wisely. I apologize for going to church every Sunday and observing the teachings of the Bible as my standard and making good life decisions. For all these things I did, you have my utmost heartfelt apology. I can now only hope that you will forgive me for all these lifestyle choices that I have made that may have caused any oppression or inconvenience upon any black person. Sincerely, without me kneeling, without me raising my hands, Matthew A. Jackson. So, there you go. Now, obviously, you can tell by the tone of the letter it had a satirical tone to it. Obviously, the main message I wanted to convey was that one's success, especially in the United States and America today, one's success has more to do with their behavior, their attitudes, their values, and their lifestyle choices than it does the color of their skin. That doesn't mean a black person or a person of color won't run into a snag here and there because of the color of the skin, but in the long run, if they make the right choices, have the right values, they're going to be just fine. That's the point of the message. And it doesn't matter what color you are. If you don't finish school, if you get in trouble with the law, if you get an addiction, if you start having babies, whether you're the baby daddy or the baby mama, it doesn't matter. If you start having children before you get a job and finish school and get married, you kind of run into problems, no matter what color you are. Now, I posted that same letter on my Facebook page, and the responses were pretty much right down the middle, or right down, well, it was divided along ideological lines. If you were a conservative, you really liked the letter, it was right on, yeah, and got lots of shares and likes and stuff. If you really hated it, it was the other way. So it was a very polarizing post in a lot of ways. There was no middle ground with this post in terms of its responses. There weren't anybody that said, yeah, it's okay. There wasn't anybody like that. Either you really liked it and thought it was good, or you really hated it and thought it was bad. Now, for those of you who hate what I just wrote, I'm going to talk to you. Do you think I'm a racist? Do you think my letter was racist? Do you think my letter unfairly stereotyped black people? Because that's what I was accused of. That was one of the big objections, that I was stereotyping all black people. And they say, well, do you think all black people think that way? Well, let me answer that. No, I don't. I don't think all black people think that way, have those attitudes, or behave that way. Not all. In fact, I know quite a few. I've met a lot of brothers and sisters, black people, who have done well in life and have succeeded. And those people who all have one thing in common. They don't act like victims, and they don't complain about white privilege. That's the common denominator between all of them, the ones that don't have that stereotype. I'd like to read one response. Now, one of my liberal friends reposted it on his Facebook page, and of course I got a ton of hate mail. And in order to keep this video, PG rated, we don't want to get an R rating here, I'm going to forego those, because many of them are very vulgar. They use a lot of cuss words and stuff like that. But here was one person who just disagreed with me, but was very polite about it. And I'd like to read her response and then respond to that. She says that my letter does antagonize black people. And she says, for example, you probably take it for granted that being a white man, when you are pulled over by the cops, you will not be assaulted or killed. You talk about poor choices. Do you think most people of color want to end up in the system? When you are born into poverty in a rough neighborhood and have a very little opportunity, your choices can be very limited. I urge you to get off your privileged soapbox and acknowledge that. I highly recommend the film The Color of Fear. If you watch that, then maybe you will have a better idea where your opinions are so incredibly harmful to people of color. Okay, let me respond to that. And I appreciate her response. I appreciate her, being polite and cordial, not cussing me out and using obscenities like her other Facebook friends did. Now, as far as being pulled over, there are no statistics that bear out that every time a black person or a person of color gets pulled over, that they're going to be assaulted or killed by the cops pulling them over. There's no statistics behind that. That is race baiting. That is conjuring up racism where racism doesn't exist, okay? The numbers don't bear that out. In 2019, there were 1,004 police shootings. This is according to FBI statistics. Of those 1,004 police shootings, 766 of them, they were able to identify the race of the people that got shot, okay? 238 of them were black, 370 were white, 158 were Hispanic, okay? So more white people have been killed by law enforcement in 2019 than black people have, okay? So that's what the numbers say. By the way, in terms of a speeding ticket, you know, a radar gun can can identify a speeding car 500 yards away. Well, a car that far away, they don't know the color of the driver, nor does the radar gun. The radar gun clocks the car at a certain speed, and that's why they get pulled over, not because of the color of the driver, because many times the officer won't know until they actually pull them over. Now, if it's another kind of moving violation, okay, yeah, they probably might have an idea of the race of the driver. But as far as speed traps are concerned, no, that doesn't apply. But yeah, now there's another thing she brought up in her response was the kids in the rough neighborhoods, the kids born out of wedlock to a single mom with no father present in the home. Yeah, and it doesn't matter what race. If you're born under those conditions, yeah, you're going to have limited opportunities, limited choices. It's going to it's going to be an uphill climb, as opposed to those kids that were born in a stable two-parent home. No question, I won't argue that. But here's the point I want to make. What about the black leaders? What about the black pastors? What about these groups who say that they are advocates for black people, that they're there to champion their cause, that they're there for the oppressed and the downtrodden, okay? Why aren't they telling the black community, hey, look, a 70% out of wedlock birth rate is high. That is the source of many of our problems. It's not white privilege. It's not redneck cops. Because let me tell you something, a kid born into a single parent home is 5 times more likely to commit crimes, 9 times more likely to drop out of school, and 20 times more likely to end up in prison. If you're born in a single parent home, you have over a 70% chance of living in poverty. If you want to guarantee that you don't live in poverty, young people, listen to me. Those of you who are 12, 13, where you're still young, if you want to stay out of poverty, finish school. Don't get into trouble. Don't get addicted to drugs. Get a job and hold down that job and save your money. Then get married. Then have children. If you do those things, you won't live in poverty and you'll succeed. That's the key to success. It doesn't matter what color you are. Look at the Asians. They're smoking everybody here in America when it comes to academics and college and academic success. What about Asian privilege? You guys don't complain about it. I don't hear you guys complaining about Asian privilege. How many out of wedlock birth rates? How many Asians are born out of wedlock, do you think? Okay? So look, behavior, attitudes, and values, they're a-racial. But you don't hear this from the black leaders, from these black groups like Black Lives Matter, the NAACP, all these black groups that say that they're for black people. The liberals, you don't hear them saying, encouraging black people to get their out of wedlock birth rate down. You don't hear it. Now, I will give Nation of Islam credit. They do encourage their men to be responsible fathers in the home. I'll give them credit for that. I don't agree with a lot of things Louis Farrakhan believes in and the Nation of Islam believes in, but I will give them credit for encouraging their men to be men and be good fathers and don't be deadbeat dads. I applaud them for that. But that's only Nation of Islam. Okay, we need everybody doing that. Why is it when I mention this that I'm a racist? All right, but that's the 300-pound gorilla in the room that nobody wants to talk about. We could talk about how the police departments need to reach out to the black community, and we need to have this program and that program. Look, if you don't want to get entanglements with law enforcement, obey the law. If you obey the law, there's a very, very good chance you probably won't have any entanglements with law enforcement. So that's about all I have to say. Thank you for watching. Please feel free to subscribe to my channel, click the notification bell, and of course those of you who really hate me and you think I'm a racist and taking advantage of my white privilege, feel free to leave your scathing comments in the comment section. You can give me a thumbs down, and I'll wear your thumbs down and your scathing comments with a badge of honor. Thank you for watching, and God bless.